Almond, the weekly show that gives you updates on Hong Kong news. Now, today, as titled in the stream, we're going to talk about Joshua Wong, one of the very prominent pro-democracy activists in Hong Kong, being jailed early this week, as well as the others who have fled Hong Kong. Now, let me just show you this picture real quick. Well, obviously, I'm not taking any images from other media outlets because of the copyrights issue. So this is a screen grab that I got from Google Photos. Now, you can see in the photo two guys looking back, being cuffed together. That is Joshua Wong on the right, as well as Ivan Lam on the left. So they are former pro-democracy group in Hong Kong called Demosisto. Everyone knows Joshua Wong. He's a very, very prominent activist in Hong Kong, as well as, I mean, he's known as the face of protesters, and also being selected as a Time cover people. So, of course, everyone knows Joshua Wong, and early this week, he has been jailed and sentenced to 13.5 months in jail. So that's roughly more than a year. And the reason why he got arrested and jailed is that because of an unlawful assembly outside the police headquarters in Hong Kong. And they were basically thousands of protesters besieged the police headquarters in Hong Kong. And here's another photo of them, Ivan and Joshua, as they were packing their things and go to court on that day for their sentencing. So they actually pleaded guilty to the charge. So Joshua was, I'm going to show you another photo. That's the third activist being sentenced and convicted and jailed. That's Agnes Chow. So she's also known as basically the face and the girl of protesters in Hong Kong. They are all very young. Agnes was only 24 years old, and then similar age for Joshua. Ivan Lam was a slightly older member from their group. Now, this has stirred up a lot of controversy in not only Hong Kong as well as overseas, especially because they are all very, very prominent activists in Hong Kong, and they have been doing a lot of, like lobbying job internationally. For example, Joshua was in the US, he was in the UK, he was in, EU, talking to different like parliament members or, council members in different countries. Agnes is a very well-known activist in Japan. She speaks absolutely fluent Japanese, and she has been doing a lot of lobbying work in Japan and I would say Southeast Asian regions. So the group Demosisto now have been disbanded because of the national security law in Hong Kong. And in fact, a lot of political groups who have been, for example, talking about self-determination, that's one of Demosisto's motto, or manifesto, I should say, and so many people are feared that that would step on the red line of the national security law. So that is why the group, since the implementation of, or actually right before the national security law, they have disbanded those political groups, including Demosisto, that's one of them, Joshua's group, as well as student localism. There's another member that we interviewed in a couple of weeks ago. They're also like pro-independence group. So that's why, and advocating for independence, for Hong Kong independence, is definitely a no-no, a big no-no under the national security law, which is now enforced here in Hong Kong. So that is the reason why the group has been disbanded. And these activists have been, long targeted by the authorities. And so now they have been arrested, convicted, found guilty, and sentenced to jail. Now, Joshua was sentenced to 13.5 months. That's roughly more than a year for organizing as well as participating and inciting others to participate in this unlawful assembly. That is back in June last year, where they surrounded the police headquarters in Hong Kong. There are thousands of them. It was a very, I would say, it's a very chaotic, a night or two. And thank you so much for joining, Peter. And for those who just joined, we are talking about this weekly update from Hong Kong. And this week, we're talking about arrest and also sentencing of very prominent activists, including Joshua Wong, the face of young protesters in Hong Kong. He's one of those student leaders that really emerged actually since the umbrella movement in 2014. And so now they have been sentenced for besieging the Hong Kong police headquarters last year. And so right now, as you can see on the screen, you have the middle picture, that's Ivan Lam at the back, and then Joshua Wong in the front. They are being detained, and bottom photo, you see Agnes Chow, who's also part of the group Demo Sisto, that is their political group, which is now disbanded. They have all now been sentenced to jail, and Agnes, she got 10 months. It's actually her first time being jailed. In the past, she also faced charges. She also faced prosecutions, but the sentence was not jail time. So it was actually her first time being jailed. That's sort of a first for Agnes Chow. And of course, Joshua, he's unfortunately no stranger to prison. He has been jailed for at least like one time ahead of all these anti-extradition movement in Hong Kong. So that's that. So if you guys have any questions, just let me know. I'll try to answer as the best I can. And so other updates that we have also, recently, there also Apple Daily, the pro-democracy tabloid in Hong Kong, their boss Jimmy Lai was also arrested. He's now in remand waiting for his trial, which will be in May next year, so which is like 5 months from now. But because the court has denied his bail application, he would not be able to be released on bail. So he'll be in a detention center, if not jail or prison. Some people do have to distinguish those facilities. So Jimmy Lai, he was also arrested, and the reason or charges that he was arrested on was a conspiracy to defraud. Many people call this political suppression. So let me go back to just give you a little bit of background information as to what is this conspiracy to defraud in Hong Kong. So he was accused of using an industrial site building, and he did not disclose certain information, and so that he was actually for an industrial unit, you're only supposed to use it as an industrial or listed purpose of that certain property. And so he was accused of not using it as the destined purpose. And so in that case, he was accused of having this conspiracy to defraud another company and so on. And actually, in Hong Kong, it's quite common, I would say. And there have been news reports saying that there are a lot of examples of people renting a place which is supposed to be used for one purpose, say industrial use, but then they use it for another purpose. There are a lot of examples of that. But people are so as to why people are saying that this is a political persecution against Jimmy Lai, the tabloid Apple Daily boss and founder, is that because he's a very vocal critic of the Chinese government as well as the Communist Party. So they're saying that, well, since there's so many examples of those misuse of land use or a certain property, then why is Jimmy Lai the only one being arrested and charged? right? So people have been saying that this is political persecution. Um, and now I want to bring you to another activist in Hong Kong, but this time not Joshua, not Agnes. So we're going to take them out of the picture. Oops. There we go. It's just my face full of your screen. And so I want to show you this picture. On the right-hand side, you see that is a former pro-democracy lawmaker Ted Hui, which we have interviewed a couple of weeks ago. And unfortunately, that interview that we had with him, it was actually the last one done in Hong Kong, because just a few days ago, Ted Hui has fled Hong Kong. He has been well, he was seen in London's Heathrow Airport. So he took a flight. Sorry, let's go back a little bit, give you a background information. So he went to Denmark by the end of November for a visit. It's a work trip that he claimed. And so here is actually in Denmark. He was in Denmark talking with one of the, I believe, parliament members or council members and lawmakers, basically. So this is, he was in Denmark, and there have been speculations that he would not be returning to Hong Kong from his Denmark trip, and that his family members have also fled. They have taken a plane to we don't know where yet. And originally there were rumors of him not returning to Hong Kong, and turns out it was true. So he was actually just on the last day of his work trip, he announced on his Facebook, let me just show you this. That's a screen grab of his Facebook page. So in his Facebook page, he published a post that said he officially announced that he is fleeing Hong Kong and he will be overseas. He didn't say like where exactly he will be, but he was seen at London Heathrow Airport later on. So this is the very long post that he has written on his Facebook explaining his decision to flee Hong Kong. And one of the reasons he said was that because, well, first of all, he's actually, he also has quite a number of charges against him. He has 9 charges. He's facing 9 charges in Hong Kong courts, including, protest related, on protest scenes in Hong Kong, and also, filibustering or throwing things at the legislature in Hong Kong. So he's actually facing quite a number of charges, and he was released on bail, and that is why he was able to go to Denmark for his work trip. He also needs to acquire the court's approval, and so now technically he's breaking that bail condition, and the central government, the Beijing government, has already said that he's a fugitive, and said that they would do whatever it takes to, bring those fugitives to justice. And they were referring to Ted Hui because obviously he has violated his bail condition and he has, fled Hong Kong. So he himself, in his Facebook page, and also when he was seen by media at Heathrow Airport, the reporter asked him, how does he feel? And he said he was actually, he feels very sad because he knows that it's not likely that he would be able to return to Hong Kong in any time soon. And let alone he is facing prosecutions in Hong Kong. And like I said, technically, he had violated his bail condition. That's illegality that we're talking about here. And so it's not quite likely that he'll be returning to Hong Kong anytime soon. So if you're ever interested in the interview that I did with Ted Ho just a couple of weeks ago, go to my feed and check that interview out. We talked about how the legislature is kind of like breaking down for the pro-democracy camp in Hong Kong, and a lot of them resign en masse to basically protest the legislature, which they call is no longer efficient and effective. So make sure you check that interview out. It's on my feed. It's just a couple of weeks ago with Ted Ho, pro-democracy, well, former pro-democracy lawmaker Ted Ho. So yeah, that's the update for this week. Really, it's a lot of things going on in Hong Kong, especially those arrest, sentencing, jailing of activists, pro-democracy activists in Hong Kong. That has sparked a lot of controversy. Not, like I said, not only in Hong Kong, but also in the international community. A lot have been calling for the release of 3 jailed activists, including Joshua Wong, Agnes Chow, and Ivan Lam, former member of political group Demosisto. So a lot of international community, a lot of countries' leaders and lawmakers have been calling for their release, saying that this is political prosecution. Now, of course, the trio have actually pleaded guilty to their charge. So there, if we're talking about that, there is only very little room for the release, and not to mention that because they pleaded guilty, so that's quite unlikely that they'll be released anytime soon. But the Joshua Wong has the most heaviest sentence, and he'll be released probably a year, slightly more than a year later. And so, yeah, that is what is happening in Hong Kong. And definitely, I mean, COVID, really, really big surge in Hong Kong. We're again seeing triple digit a day. I know, like I said many times, Hong Kong situation compared to other countries, compared to, the US, in Europe, it's really nothing. But we are dealing with this recent surge, and there are community outbreaks, and so this is the situation in Hong Kong. And I mean, and upcoming is Christmas holiday, and people will be going out or having gatherings, and so I mean, that's a reminder for all of the people out there, not only in Hong Kong, but also you guys in the US, in the UK, Europe, Spain, or wherever you're watching. Please stay vigilant, wear a mask if you're going out, and wash your hands frequently, and just be aware of your personal hygiene, and make sure you protect yourself as well as others, as well as your loved ones, because this pandemic is no joke. This coronavirus is no joke. So yeah, really great to have you guys here joining me in a nutshell with Almond. If you missed this episode, that's okay. Just go back to my feed and watch it again, and I'll see you next week again. And make sure you do follow me on social media. I'm on Habs as well as Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can follow me on those social platforms and send me DMs and comments. Show me some love by sponsoring me on Habs, and I'll see you again next week in a nutshell with Almond. Thank you so much. Bye.